Well, hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday and happy webinar time. Folks, I am so excited to be live with you guys at this point in the term and just get a chance to say hello to you guys and interact in this space. First and foremost, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It's our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. You can also email them at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. Folks, I know that you guys have heard a lot about the SNHU resources available to you, but the Online Accessibility Center is a wonderful team that their job is to help students get content like webinars like this or classroom content or even events and activities at the university in a way that works best for you. Sometimes students don't understand what the Accessibility Center team does. So I want to make sure that you know that that's their job. They make sure that you get things in a way that works best for you. A couple of housekeeping items. First and foremost, you guys do not need a microphone or camera. Everybody just needs to be able to hear me. And I think everybody can hear me, right? Give me a yay or a yes or loud and clear so I make sure my voice is coming through all right. These webinars, as you guys know, we're in week 6, are offered live like tonight. A couple times a term and then on demand. Have you guys been watching the on-demand webinars? Do you know how to find them? Have they been helpful? That is something that we just really want to make sure for you guys that you're able to get content conveniently. That's why we don't have as many live sessions, because the on-demand is able to be accessible to you guys like right away when that week first starts. So I sure hope you're enjoying them. And remember, they're always there. They're up all term long. And don't forget about those focus videos. We are in an academic space, so always be mindful of your conduct. And then just a reminder, these webinars, they're not mandatory. No grades are attached to them. No extra credit points. But I sure hope that you guys will learn a few things and that you'll have a little bit of fun. Because if we're not having fun, then why are we here, right? So before we get started, as a reminder, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Melanie Shop, and I am a SNHU 107 faculty member. So I do teach a classroom. I have about 32 students in my classroom, but I also get the opportunity to work with all of the sections of SNHU 107 through the SNHU 107 learning community. And if you haven't been in SNHU Connect yet, I encourage you to get in there, because there's clubs and activities and all kinds of hobby groups and interest groups. And it's just a really great way to get to know other students. But we also are special and have a specific SNHU 107 learning community where I post just some reminders and helpful hints and things like that and try to motivate you guys throughout the term. Because it's really important. As you guys know, sometimes the weeks feel like they're flying by. And sometimes if we have an off week, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep going, right? So before we dive into tonight's content, I want to know from you all, what has been your favorite thing that you've learned from SNHU 107 so far? And just type it in the chat. I love to know this because it kind of gives me an idea, and it gives all of us at the university an idea of like, what are the big things that we're making sure that you guys are excited about or learning about? And this can be too, maybe that for some of you, it's just that you're learning that you can do this. Because I know back in the beginning, 6 weeks ago, everybody was a little bit nervous, right? Nervous about starting classes, nervous about starting all the things. And then now you're here. So now that you're here and you have a few weeks under your belt, I want you to share in the chat what has been your favorite thing that you've learned so far. Okay. And I'll keep an eye out for those as I kind of keep going, because I know your time is very precious. And as a reminder too, I will record this tonight. It's already a recording, so you guys can go back and you can watch this as many times as you need to, and you can pause me where you need to pause me. It'll be up within 24 hours of the live session ending, okay? So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. And it sounds like time management is a heavy hitter. A lot of you guys have learned about your personal time management, looking at other things through other people's perspectives. Also that you guys can do this. This is incredible, learning about feedback. Oh, you guys are so good. So week 6, this week, you guys just have the week 6 activity assignment, right? I just want to clarify because a lot of students get stuck or have questions. You want to make sure that you open up the actual module 6 activity template. Okay, everybody's clear on that, right? So when you open that document up, you're going to see what's on my screen. You're going to see another person. So I'm going to say another student's mission statement that they wrote. And then you're going to see what their faculty member thought was missing or what was good, right? And then you're going to see that for 3 goals also. So for this assignment, you're not touching anything with the stuff that you wrote in week 4. You're just opening up this week 6 assignment, this week 6 template. You're looking at what that student wrote. So this student, wrote that their mission statement is to do great in every class so they can get their bachelor's degree, and they want to work in business because it's rewarding, and they want to do better for their family and community, right? That's what they wrote, which is awesome. But then you see what their faculty member said, right? Hey, this is great, but we're missing a few things. So your job is to rewrite that mission statement, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? So you're going to look at what the student had, and you're going to look at what the faculty said, and you're just going to fill in the missing blanks and rewrite it. So it's one whole puzzle, okay? And then you're going to do the same thing for all 3 goals. So for example, the very first goal, the student put, I want to get straight A's, which again, awesome, right? And the faculty member says hey, that's a great goal. But remember, when we're writing those SMART goals, we need to make sure that we have some more details, right? So this student doesn't say how they're going to do it. The student doesn't say are they going to try to get straight A's for the next term, the next couple terms, fill in those blanks, okay? So you're going to rewrite the mission statement based off what the faculty member said and what the student had there. Rewrite the goals, all 3 of them. So the second one was they want to ask for help, which again is awesome. Allison, that's a perfect way to say it. This assignment is practice with somebody else's words. So you're going to revise the second goal, right? Just fill in the missing details. Same with the third goal. And then you're going to answer the question on why embracing and incorporating feedback in your writing is important. Okay? We clear on this assignment? Does that make sense? Does that kind of help break it down a little bit? I know that every term students have questions wait, what am I supposed to do? Don't overthink it. Just open up the template and just be oh. And I love how Allison said that. It's practice with somebody else's words. So that's what we're doing for week 6, okay? If you're stuck, if you have questions, please, please, please reach out to your faculty member. You can always use the writing team, or you can always post something in the LC to the learning community, and I'll get back to you. But that's what you guys want to do. So don't overthink it. You're just filling in the missing pieces and rewriting what that sample student had put for those things, okay? All right, so switching gears a little bit. You guys know that next week is week 7. Holy smokes, week 7. Whoa, how did we get here? I can't believe it. February is going to be over before I know it. But with week 7, you guys have what's called the final project or the academic success plan. Now, I wanted to remind you all that this project is worth a significant chunk of your overall grade. If you notice, it's worth 250 points out of your course total points of 1,000, right? So it's a heavy hitter. The cool thing is that you all have already done some of these pieces, so you have experience with it. So it's not like you're starting from scratch because you have a template. What do you guys think about the templates? Do you like using the templates so that you don't have to start from scratch? Do you like that there's something there that you can fill out? Or are you I wish it was just I could answer the questions and not have this template? I'm always curious because some students love it, some students don't. But with this assignment, like all your others, you have a template for you to go ahead and open up. And as we work through the sections, you're going to be oh my gosh, I already did that, because you thought about your schedule and interruptions back in week 2. Do you guys remember that? So for your final project, instead of thinking about one day, you're thinking about a week. Okay. And then you wrote here recently in week 4, your mission statement and 3 short-term SMART goals, right? And then your faculty member has graded them and left you some feedback. Some of you guys might need changes. Some of you might not. But you're going to add those mission and goals to your project for week 7. If you had changes to make, you're going to make sure they're in there. If you didn't, you're just going to copy and paste. Okay, but there are things that you have done. The project also talks about SNHU resources that you can use for your success. Social supports. We know what these are, right? Because we've already worked with them all term. So it's all things you've done before. You're just framing it a little bit differently for the project. Does that help you guys? The biggest thing is to use the template, just fill it out, answer the questions, and make sure that you guys are using your resources if you're getting stuck, which you already are because you're here tonight for the webinar. So to help us with understanding how to utilize one of my favorite SNHU resources is our very special guest, Allison Johnson. So I'm going to introduce Allison, and how we're going to do this is I have questions for her that are going to help you guys understand how to use her team and their services, and then I'm going to run through the actual template for Module 7. Does that sound good? So fun facts about Allison is, of course, she's part of our SNHU Academic Support team, but she used to teach high school English in a rural town that didn't even have a traffic light. Is anybody here from a small town? I am. I grew up in Coon Rapids, Iowa, with a blinking, like a flashing traffic light. It really didn't do anything. I'm not sure why it was there. She's been an academic advisor for online students. So she has worked with students just like you in so many different situations. She loves to work with students who have been out of school for a while. So where are you folks at? Who's been out of school for a while and now you're dipping your toes back into academics, right? My favorite thing, though, about Allison, besides her huge smile and amazing personality, is that she is a huge fan of stand-up comedy and has a collection of old comedy records. So if you're a comedy fan, that's one of the fun facts about Allison. But she is one of the many people that are here to support you and your success. And I think it's just part of a unique opportunity for you guys to get to know the resources and the people that are here for you, because we're human just like you. We're not robots. We're here. We're people. We got families. We got lives. And we know what it's like to be in your shoes, balancing school with all the competing priorities that you guys have. So, Allison, first and foremost, can you tell these folks how they can access academic support?
So the picture shows you the easiest way. If you go into your class in SNHU 107, right at the top, where your course menu is, which is probably the thing you use the most, that drop-down menu in the tools. But if you go to the right, you will see academic support listed right there. You can click on that and that takes you right to us. So that is the fastest way for you to get to us.
A big question we get from students is academic support only for SNHU 107, and what support options are there?
So, no, it is not only for SNHU 107. It is for all of your classes. Academic support is there for every single class that you are in. And hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully the audio is okay. Okay, I can hear okay too. So it's there in all of your classes, and it's even if you continue on to grad school, there for grad students as well. And we have so many things, and we always just want to make sure that you're getting to the support that lights your brain up, that's the right support for the class that you're in. We have 24/7 drop-in tutoring for people who are early birds or late night people. That's a great thing. You can chat with a person immediately. Sometimes there's a little bit of a wait on the tutoring. Written feedback if you just want a second set of eyes on what you're working on in this class or any class and get some feedback to think about what you might change before your teacher sees it. We have workshops and peer groups. So if you enjoy what you're doing here in this webinar and would like to connect with people, the peer groups might be a really good support option, as well as the workshops that are very similar to these webinars. We have peer tutoring, which are fantastic 45-minute sessions that you can self-schedule, that you can meet with people who were probably in this class, SNHU 107, just like you, and have been through classes and are currently taking classes at SNHU 107 and have some extra training to help and give back. And that's also something that if you have ambition to do so later on in your academic career, you might go back to and apply. We have academic coaching, which is my little section of academic support where you can have some fill out this form and have some specialized support where you meet regularly to work on some goals that you have for yourself. If you find some barriers to learning or difficulties in studenting, as we call it, that's a great opportunity. And then the live chat is no longer there. So I forgot to update Melanie on that one, but we don't have the live chat anymore, and so we have some resources and things that are available. But we have all of these options, and we're always looking at the options and just making sure that they're best for everybody. So, but the 24/7 drop-in is still there too.
I mean, y'all, there's so many ways to connect with this team in a way that works best for you and is convenient for your schedule and your goals. And so I think the cool thing about the academic support team is they're here your entire duration of your academic journey, okay? So maybe you might not need them and their support services now or this term, but you might down the road. Like some of you might be taking like English composition. That's a big one. Or IDS 100. That's another big one that a lot of students like to utilize the writing services just because they're doing some heavier citation work. It's a little bit different of comprehension styles and things like that. So just remember that this department is here. They're not going anywhere. So Allison, is you kind of think about writing in general, but also like the project that's coming up for students in this class and maybe even other classes, like what are some common mistakes that they should be aware of or tips or tricks that you can recommend for their success?
So I think the biggest thing is to make sure you have some time to revise and edit. Make sure you have some time to look over things. And double check it to what you're being graded on. So make time to look at your instructor's feedback, make time to look at your assignment guidelines and rubric, grade yourself. And you've heard your instructor's voice, so make sure that you're looking over it and think, how would Melanie grade me, or whoever your instructor is, how would they grade me on this assignment? Make sure that you answer in complete sentences and give detail. I think that's a trick to all writing too, is I think a lot of times we won't give a lot of detail because we think, oh, that makes sense, it's understood. But the more examples you can give, the more people can really see your point. And so if you can give a for example sentence after a couple of statements so that your instructor can really see where you're coming from, that's what we mean by details. So more details, double check the spelling, double check capitalization, run the spell check. And the templates are wonderful and sometimes lead to, especially if you're cutting and pasting from other assignments or moving stuff around, make sure everything's filled out. That's a big one. So again, that goes back to that first thing of make sure you have time to go over it, double check it before you submit it.
Perfect. Such good advice. Yes, everybody, I'll tell you, when you have the template and things are numbered and you're looking at things and you're kind of going through quickly, you might miss something. I will tell you that every term, I have a student every term that when they're bringing over their mission statement and goals from week 4 into week 7, they forget something. They forget a goal or they forget the mission statement. It happens all the time. So just remember to double check your work. Allison, what advice do you have for students if they procrastinate, like put this project off or life happens and they get busy? Like what can they do as kind of like a double check or tips for their success?
Sometimes this happens and it's not even procrastination, sometimes just life happens, right? So if you're running up against a deadline and you are seeing that 11:59 flashing on the clock sooner rather than later, one of the best things you can do is make sure you still do the assignment, because even if you don't get it 100% done, some points is better than no points. So still do it. That was to just do it, like the sign says. Consider technology too. Sometimes getting things down on the page, maybe you're not the fastest typer or you might have some errors when you're typing, remember that there's a dictate button. There's that little microphone in Microsoft Word. So you could even get down your thoughts by using the technology and speaking it out instead of typing it out. A lot of the same thing, you might not be able to get the written feedback from us because that takes 12 hours, but you certainly can still read it out loud, or even better, if somebody is at home in your vicinity or even a friend that you can call and you can say, here, look at this over and read it out loud to me. It's always better to have somebody else read it because then you can hear how it sounds to somebody else. And if there's not an actual human in the vicinity that can read it back to you, your computer can do that as well. You can, in addition to the dictate mode, use on the review tab, you can have the technology read it back to you, and that can be a really helpful way to pick up on little mistakes that sometimes spell check or the free version of Grammarly don't catch, because it's right technically, but it's maybe not the way you wanted it to sound. So that's really important, and you can still always take the time to go over the assignment guidelines and rubric, make sure you got everything before you submit it, and pace yourself. Make sure you're still taking some breaks. Sometimes using a timer can be helpful. If you're up against a deadline, say I'll only spend 5 minutes on this, I'll only spend 10 minutes on this section. But there's always those little strategies that can help out, and always call in the technology and the people that are available to you to help in those time crunches as well.
Such great advice, Allison. Everybody tell Allison thank you. Those are the questions that I had for her tonight, so I hope you learned something new. But Allison is going to hang out. She's going to hang out while I run through the template with y'all before we get done for tonight. So just a heads up, sometimes when I'm switching screens, Adobe can freeze or kick me out. So if I disappear for a minute, don't panic, I will be back. But I wanted to make sure that I got everything situated for you guys. So hold on just a second. And I'm going to share my screen. And you guys will see some controls on the screen too. So hold on just a sec here. Are you guys seeing my screen okay so far? I'm going to log into a class real fast. Hold on just a second. I'm going to see if I can move over here a little bit, maybe. So if you see like a grayed out box or like a black box, that's so I can see the controls and I can see the chat box in case you have questions. So first and foremost, for week 7, you guys know, and this is my classroom, so things might look a little bit different in my classroom, but all the assignments and everything are the same. But you guys know to go under course menu into learning modules, and we're going to week 7. When you guys go into week 7, I wanted to remind you guys of a couple of things. One, when you click on that requirements and rubric, and it pulls up the assignment instructions, right? Everybody with me so far? It's going to break down and explain this project for you guys step by step, much like I am. It'll go through, each piece and each part, okay? But keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. You're going to see the rubric, how you're graded. But I want to point out these 2 things. One, you're going to have the template, which you guys have used templates in other weeks, so you guys know how to do this. But the other thing I wanted to point out is there is an actual example of this project put together, and it looks like this when you click on it, okay? So it literally will show you an example of how you could fill this out. Now, this is a great starting point. Do not, under any circumstances, copy this verbatim. You'll get flagged in less than 2 seconds, okay? You want your work to be your work, but this is a great thing to look at. It's not perfect, but it's a great thing to look at to kind of give you an idea of how you should be answering things and how things should look. Okay, everybody? So I wanted to point that out for you guys, that there's that example. Sometimes students totally miss that. Did you guys know that was there? I've had students that are like, what? There's an example? I never even saw that, but that's where it is. So you can print it off, you can look at it. It's just a great way to know like how to do this project. Now, if you click on the template, it will look like this, with the exception of it won't be filled out. It's going to be blank, right? I have taken the liberty of adding some highlights and filling out some of the sections just to kind of give you an idea of some things to look for and to kind of break the template down. Okay, everybody? So just remember, there's an example, but when you open up the actual template, it'll be blank. Some of this I've already filled out and highlighted, so don't expect for your copy to have highlights, okay? So the first section is that looking at a typical week schedule. So you guys will notice here, I'm gonna see if I can move this a little bit more. So do you guys notice this time log, right? Do you see anything wrong with this time log? Can anybody tell me if you were a faculty member and you were grading this, what might be wrong? Anybody? Pop quiz. You're going to be the faculty member. Blank spaces, Amber, rockstar status. Very good. Yes. When you guys fill out your time log, you want to make sure that every single slot has something in there. And you'll notice, like, I'm not super detailed, but somebody that doesn't know me can look at this and like understand what I'm saying. When I'm working, when I'm at lunch, when I'm picking up kids, when I'm studying, when I'm sleeping, maybe I'm gaming or I'm chatting with friends, whatever it might be, fill it out. So when you turn yours in, don't let there be blanks. Make sense? Other questions about the time log that I get is like, well, what week should I use? Just be generic. Use your most general week. If you want to use last week, fine. You want to use this week, fine. Don't overthink it. Don't get stressed up in that, okay? Just fill out a week's time, like what you typically do every day, every week, okay? I know for some of you, your weeks might change from week to week, and that's okay. Just fill it out as you can. Don't stress about that part of it. Just make sure that you're detailed, all right? The second question is identify potential unplanned scheduling interruptions that may impact your schedule. Kind of like in week 2, right? What are things that interrupt your schedule? So example, social media, Netflix, kids needing my attention, getting called into work when I'm not scheduled to work. Those are examples. Writing complete sentences, but these are examples, okay? Becca, I see your question about the time log. I would leave it as is. Just so you don't miss something or take something out or change something, I would just leave it as is. And this is like your typical week now. It's not before school. It's your typical week like now, like this term, right? And this assignment you can do any week, okay? But you want to do something that's like not before school, okay? You want to do while you're in school. Okay, everybody make sense so far where we are? So question 3, identify how you will choose between tasks or events that take place at the same time on your schedule. This question is just wanting you to think about, like, you want to be successful while you're in school, right? So how are you going to prioritize yourself and all the things that you need to do, want to do, and things that come up? For example, maybe you need to get a project done, but your family has an annual birthday dinner for like your mom or dad. Like, how do you pick, right? How are you going to prioritize that? Or maybe you have stuff to get done around the house, but you also have like homework. Like, how are you going to prioritize that? You want to explain, like, what are you going to do? For example, mapping out your time, what's a priority? Can you move things to different days? That kind of stuff. Does that make sense for that question, everybody? Just be honest, but it's something to think about because it's life, right? I don't know about you, but every day there's things that come up at the same time on my schedule and I have to like pick one, right? So that's what that question is referring to. Number 4, you guys know this one. Identify the SNHU resources, social supports, and motivational factors that'll help you most with managing your time. You guys know these, right? The biggest thing I want you to remember is list at least 2. Pay attention to details, resources, social supports, see plurals. So think of 2, list those SNHU resources, examples, advising, academic support, your faculty, SNHU Connect, the help desk, the library, the list goes on, right? Online Accessibility Center, social support. Somebody remind me, what is a social support? Give me an example. Pop quiz number 2. What or who? Very good, guys. They are people, places, things outside of SNHU. So family, friends, you guys rock stars. And then 2 motivational things. Like, what are 2 things, people, things, whatever it is, that are going to keep you motivated when it comes to thinking about your time, right? Question 5, how are you going to take ownership of your future academic success by basically taking your time and managing it and adding in the resources and some social supports and motivational factors? We've talked about this all term. Basically, you're just going to answer the question, like, how am I going to really own this and make sure that I'm doing a good job and keep it on track? Okay? Complete sentences. Make sense so far, folks? Everybody feel good about this? Is this helping break this down a little bit? We're almost there. We're like halfway there. The next part is that mission statement and goals. So, folks, this is a big one. Back in week 4, seems like so long ago, right? You guys wrote a mission statement and then 3 short-term SMART goals. Now, if you didn't miss any points and got 100%, you have no changes or revisions to make, right? So what you want to do is go back to week 4 and take your mission statement and copy and paste it here, and then copy and paste all 3 goals in the goals section, okay? If you had changes, which is very common, maybe you needed some extra details, or maybe you didn't explain how you would do something, or maybe you forgot the start date or due date within the next 6 months, right? Because it's supposed to be short term, not long term. If you had those changes to make, look at what your faculty thought you were missing, just like you're doing here in week 6, right? And make those changes and then just pop them right in here, okay? Does that make sense? So the thing is to double check that you have a mission statement and 3 short-term SMART goals. Again, if you didn't have any changes, scored perfect, you're just copying and pasting. If you had some changes, make sure you make them, because I will tell you, when I grade my students, I go back and I pull up week 4 and I see what they had for week 4 compared to week 7 and look at the changes that I had for them, okay? Yes, so Vanessa, for this project, if you didn't have any necessary changes in your mission and goals, you don't have to make anything. The revisions are there if you needed to make changes. But if you want to clarify directly with your faculty member, just to make sure, please do, because they are the ones that are grading it. But in my opinion, if you didn't have anything wrong, you're just copying and pasting, okay? But if you had changes, make them, all right? Sound good? But always double check with your faculty. Number 8 is describe the importance of setting goals on your academic journey. So why do we set goals? You're just going to explain yourself, write a couple sentences, write your thoughts, okay? Number 9 is, again, this is different though than up top, folks, okay? You're going to be like, wait, I thought I answered this. And it's okay to use the same kind of resources, right, and social supports, but it is different, so make sure you know that. Identify SNHU resources that you will use to help you achieve your mission statement and goals. Again, different than time management. So here we are, resources. How many should you list? At least what? So pop quiz number 3. How many should I have? Somebody tell me. Should I have 1 resource? 2? Oh, look at you guys. A+. You guys are so good. You're on it. So yes, list at least 2 resources. You can always list more, but at least make at least 2. Now, question number 10, identify academic skills and social supports to help you achieve your goals and mission statement. This is where folks think about who supports you at home, outside the classroom, friends, family. We've already covered that. Make sure you have at least 2. And academic skills, these are things like time management, note-taking, reading comprehension. That is an academic skill. Now, on that example I showed you, there's a little misprint with an academic skill. So students can get confused, but that is what an academic skill is. Okay, everybody? So note-taking, time management, reading comprehension, those kinds of things. Study skills. Does that help? I saw somebody had a question about academic skills. Does that answer that question? Yes, writing can be an academic skill, but you want to make sure that you explain like what kind of writing. You know what I mean? Like, is it that you want to have like grammatically correct writing? Is it going to be like comprehensive writing? Just kind of make sure it makes sense to somebody else, if that helps, Richard. Because sometimes you just put writing, your faculty might be like, well, wait, what do you mean about writing? So you might want to have to clarify a few details, all right? Number 11, identify those motivational factors to help you achieve your goals and mission statement. Again, make sure you have 2. This is your who, your what, your why behind why you're going here, why you're doing this, why you're getting your degree, put them in there. And then last, but certainly not least, is how to wrap it all up, right? Like, how are you going to take everything basically that you've learned this term, from using your resources and social skills and motivational factors and all the things to achieve your mission and goals? Like, how are you going to own it? Like, how are you going to basically make sure that you're going to keep on track, stay on track, and get all the way to the graduation point? Does that make sense, everybody? Does that sound good? So that is the entire template that's out there. Becca, I saw you had a question. Hold on just a second. Are we adding the time management assignment and the personal mission statement and short-term goals? Week 7 just has like new components. So the time log is bigger than you guys did back in week 2. The mission and goals are the same unless you had changes. And then you're kind of just taking a little bit of a further detailed step into how using resources, social supports, and motivational factors are going to keep you on track. Does that make sense, everybody? So the biggest thing is with this project is to open it up, take a look at it, and if it's a lot to be on screen, print it off and fill it out that way and then go back and type it up. Does that sound good? Did this help to break this down? I think sometimes it can just be nice to have somebody like run you through the different questions. And remember, you do have that example. The example's not perfect, but it gives you a great layout of how this project should be done, what it should look like. And then you always have this webinar that you can come back to, because the week 6 webinar, this webinar is much more in depth. Next week, we're talking about finishing strong and things that you're going to get done. And I'll run through a couple of things real quick about the project, but it will not be this in depth. And remember, it's okay to be nervous because you're putting your stuff out on a piece of paper, right? But you've already done all of this, okay? You've already done the pieces and the parts. And so there may be some things that you can very directly copy and paste over, unless you need to make changes. But I would always double check that you're answering the question the way that it's asked on this assignment, because some of your assignments previously in the interim might have similar questions, but they were asked differently. And so I've had students that just like copy and paste it over. And then when I look at their week 7 assignment, I'm like, hey, great start to this answer, but you're missing this piece of it. So always double check that what you're saying and how you're answering things ties into the actual question being asked, right? Pieces of the puzzle. Yes, very good. So does that help everybody? Just double check, make sure you have everything. There's lots of bullet points and lots of numbers on here. So just double check, but take a big old deep breath, folks, because this is your project. And the reason that Allison and I go through this so early, we're a whole week out. We're not even in week 7 yet. This is a week 7 assignment. But the reason we do this early is so it gives you a chance to get started on it, make a rough draft, get it submitted to the writing team, and have them give you some feedback and then make changes. Like, you have plenty of time, which is really nice, okay? So just think about that as you guys are working through this piece. So I'm going to close out of this. So hold on just a sec. And I'm going to switch screens. So give me just a second again. Give me a moment to pop back on. Can you guys hear me again? Sometimes it likes to pause me. Just a reminder, folks, know how you're graded. You guys know how to use the rubric. Trust the template. Don't overthink it. Answer the questions, but write in complete sentences and provide enough detail so it makes sense to somebody who doesn't know you super, super well, right? I mean, we've gotten to know you these last few weeks as faculty, but make sure you have details so it makes sense. And don't forget about using your wonderful resources. If you have questions, you're stuck on something, you're not sure, always reach out to your instructor. Your advisor is there. Plus, you have the academic support team from a writing standpoint. If you're just worried about missing something, or if it made sense, or if you got everything right. This is why we do this webinar early. And be yourself, y'all. You have worked so hard. And for so many of you, you weren't sure back 6 weeks ago if you could do this. And look at you now. You have done the assignment. You have shown up. You have put yourself out there. And this project is a way to kind of just wrap up the term. And I have students that took this class years ago, and they'll message me on when they're getting close to graduation, and they're like, Professor Shop, guess what? Guess what assignment I found? I found my academic success project, and I followed it, and I'm here. Sometimes you might get stuck down the line and they pull out that project and they're like, oh, right, I haven't been managing my time like I should have, or, oh my gosh, I need to reach out to that resource and utilize them for success. So this project is basically like a map. And it's writing down the things that you're going to do and how you're going to do it for your success to get all the way to the finish line. So my biggest piece of advice to you is turn this project in. You have worked so hard all term long. You are worth this journey and worth turning this in. So take a big old deep breath, go back and watch the webinar, work with the writing team, and just remember, folks, you completely got this. I am so proud of you already. I know we have a couple of weeks left, so make sure that you catch the week 7 and week 8 webinars. The week 8 is a fun celebration of success, and just celebrating all the hard work you guys have put in. You're almost there. So work through these next couple of weeks. If there's assignments that you have missed or you have struggled with, reach out to your instructor, see if they would be willing to let you make that up again or like redo it. This is the time for that. They might very well say no. You cannot do that. But the answer is always no, right? Unless we ask. So just go after your success. And I really appreciate you guys. And thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Before you guys head out, if you get a chance, make sure you take the survey if you've watched the webinars this term or enjoyed tonight. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. The recording will be downloaded here. It can take a little bit to get it on YouTube, but it'll be back live within 24 hours. So it'll be up, here within 24 hours, and just keep an eye out for it. But if you get stuck, let me know. But did this help? Does everybody feel a little bit better? You kind of know what you're doing. You know what the week 7 project has coming up. You know about week 6, right? So we feel strong. That's the most important thing. And remember, you can always reach out. All right. Folks, have a wonderful Wednesday night. I have taken more of your time than I meant to, but it was worth it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, a wonderful weekend. If you're a football fan, go Kansas City Chiefs. And you guys, you got this. So good luck and enjoy the rest of your term.